Hello and welcome. This is the Live Now podcast. I'm your host, Nate Kingsley, and thank you for tuning into the show. Before I get into it today, there is a special announcement. I am currently developing a podcast network called the LIVNetwork, L-I-V, all capitals, network, and I got my first edition, the Brcye Is Right Sportscast, which just posted its first episode today. That's the Brcye Is Right Sportscast, hosted by my good buddy, Brcye Dawson. And the sportscast is obviously about sports. He's going to talk about the four major sports, so basketball, baseball, hockey, and football. And there's a lot of shit to talk about right now. I don't know if you guys are sports fans. If you are, please go check him out. This guy knows absolutely everything there is to know about sports, contracts, trades, free agency going on in football right now, and the playoffs going on in the NBA and the NHL. He gives a very different take than you might hear on typical radio shows or ESPN or whatever. And great personality. Like I said, absolutely knows everything there is to know. So go give him a listen. That is the Brcye Is Right Sportscast. It's on the same website and the same app thing, I guess, as the Live Now podcast, so it's super easy to find. But anyway, my two guests today are Alex Hutchins, who was on last season. I think it was like episode 3 or something. And Justin Miner, who was actually on the first episode this season. So these two guys, if you don't remember, Justin is the owner and head coach of Gain Strength and Conditioning, and Alex is the other head coach at Gain Strength and Conditioning, a gym out of Portsmouth. And I brought them on because they have recently been taking classes and applying breathing techniques taught at the Power Speed Endurance methodology course. I can't really remember the exact name, but I wanted to talk to them about, I'm obviously very into breathing and how it applies to exercise and life in general as it comes to with meditation or the Posture Respiration Institute exercises that I like to use. So I wanted to talk to them on their take because it's a little bit different of a methodology and the reasons for doing it are a little bit different than PRI and other methods out there. And I wanted to talk to them about how they get general population people to buy in to this methodology, because that is kind of a hang up. Any strength coach out there that is listening knows how freaking difficult it is to get people to buy in to all the crazy weird shit that we go out and learn. And I just wanted to talk to them about it because they have done a phenomenal job at getting people to do this. They've gotten everybody to drink the breathing and Gain Strength and Conditioning Kool-Aid. But anyway, enough of me for talking about this. Let's hear what they have to say. So please enjoy this podcast with Justin and Alex. But that's how everyone is, because it's just easy. Nobody likes to look into the nuanced shit, which is what you guys are doing with this fucking breathing work.
Yeah,
which is super
let's
cool.
do this. We're just getting riled up now.
I thought that was a good segue. You just said, which you guys, because you guys just went to the ship. So when did you go to yours, and what was it called?
I went in November, and it was called the Art of Breath. And
The Art of Breath.
To State. Breathwork.
That was called?
Yeah, it was called Breathwork and State.
Where was the one that you went to, Al?
It was in Scarborough, Maine, and
What? Really?
right near the ocean. Yeah, I thought it was lost when I was driving up there.
That actually makes sense though, because that's kind of like a hippy dippy place.
Yeah, there was definitely a hippie dippy vibe.
Well,
there.
whoever took like the Snapchat story, I think it was on the Gain account.
Yeah.
So it must have been Taylor. It was definitely Taylor because I saw
I was in it.
your man bun in it. And I was like, dude, that looks like a shitload of yogi looking types.
Me and Taylor were by far probably the two biggest hardos there. And we're not hard.
I'm gonna say that you.
What?
Maybe. Taylor looks like a hippy dippy yogi now.
Well, it's because he's emaciated.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, he's
showing a lot of cheekbone.
he is so thin.
I know. We gotta feed that boy.
He was at my house the other night, and he had an entire bag of tortilla chips.
That's his
Really?
thing now.
Yeah,
Tortilla chips? Why?
like chips and salsa.
That's just what he.
Just like the whole.
Is that
bag.
all he eats?
No, he had dinner, and then he just casually ate this entire bag.
Interesting.
It was pretty impressive.
He's a odd cat. I like him though.
He's great.
Yeah, but he just, when you initially met him and he was here, he was all about lifting and being like bigger and like sports and stuff, and now you see him and he's just very slender. Like,
He's small.
I don't want to. It sounds
No,
like
he's
this
come
is all
back.
negative,
He's lifting
but
heavy
just-
again. We got him on a
Good.
Olympic weightlifting.
as he should. Feed him like a
Program.
steak or something.
I'm just gonna start funneling donuts into his mouth.
Because Taylor Black was giving him shit the other day. He's like, "Yo, what happened to Taylor again?" He's like, "You started to look like a little bitch."
No.
He is down to what is
He was sub 170. He was almost
173.
Yeah.
That's because he's taller than me, so he's probably like
He's
6
sneaky
foot.
tall.
Yeah.
Sneaky tall. He's taller than Justin.
Yeah, he's sneaky tall. He's probably 6'1".
How much do you weigh?
185 is my guess, but that's mostly so I can say my snatch the other day was at body weight.
Well, there you go.
Jim, 184 was an over body weight snatch.
But that, like, for your height or whatever, that's like you're thin, but you don't look it. You still look like athletic.
That's what
Taylor has surpassed
Peter,
it.
Peter told me that. He goes, "Oh, so you're the runner guy. You don't look like a runner." I was like, "Thanks. I don't
right.
want to look like a runner."
Yeah, but you're also not like Cameron Haynes runner physique either.
No, he's
You'd have
an
to.
anomaly.
He's fucking yoked on his upper body and his lower body.
He's a
but his lower body
bodybuilder,
isn't.
ultra marathoner. Is
Yeah.
what he is.
Yeah, doesn't
That's
make
crazy.
A lick of fucking sense. But yeah, I saw Taylor. I was just like, dude, shit. I was like, don't you hang out with Alex all the time? That guy literally just has donuts in his pant pocket. what are you doing? But yeah, okay. So you and Taylor went to that. So what is like the premise of this whole thing? Like, why? What is it?
What is the
yeah,
seminar? What was
yeah.
the seminar about?
What was it about?
It was basically just about how breathing and your ability to breathe can affect your state. And, you know, they gave us tools to use it. And
Tools being like protocols? you
yeah,
mean?
like the protocols are coming out with that app in March, which I'm super excited about because we use a app right now. I don't know what you use. I use Apnea Trainer.
Yeah.
Is that
There's
what
one
it's going to
called-
be like? Is just like a timed thing?
It's time, but it also has AI. So like after it'll take you through like a warm up or whatever, and it'll be like, how do you feel? And it's 3 questions, and you click that, and it'll take you through another one, and it tries to learn what works well for you. That was another
That
big
is
takeaway for
very
me too,
interesting.
because they were saying, yeah, all this stuff is great, and you know you can do some apnea work to try to down regulate yourself. Maybe you do some up regulating techniques like the breath of fire or the Wim Hof stuff. But they also said, like, with a caveat, it's not the same for everyone. So what upregulates you might downregulate me. That could be completely different for him.
Yeah.
So you have to really experiment with it. And that's what we've been trying to do, but that's what they're trying to kind of break down with the app. Is try to make it so everyone can just go, okay, this is easy. I can go through a couple cycles of this, and it tries to learn you and what works for you.
Gotcha. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean,
But I
I'm
mean,
fired
you
up
guys
for it.
just inadvertently do that as coaches. You guys are the intelligence in that. Because if you were to give someone a protocol, you're like, how does that feel for you? And then it's like what's like an upper for them.
Well,
and
I mean,
what protocol's downer for someone else.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, with in aspects of coaching, at first, before you're even talking about changing their state, it's like you have to breathe better. And these protocols, right, like opposed to something like a PRI where you're like, lay on the wall, pull this rib down, stretch that pec, rotate that rib, and now breathe.
It's not shit on PRI.
But, so Alex and I were talking since 2015, when we first opened, how do we implement breath work into this stuff? It's important.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
boring.
how long it's been.
And so this stuff is, by having these different protocols and, hey, you may or may not feel this way from it, what we've found that really kind of teaches people to do is it's now this mechanical breath practice too. Like, hey, are you in a good posture, right? Are your hips and your ribs lined up? Are you getting a full kind of 360-degree expansion? Are you feeling it in your chest and your neck more than you should be? Well, are you shrugging up when you breathe in? Can you breathe more than a few breaths in a row through your nose? And so having these different protocols is like almost a series of ways to practice it, is allowing people to then kind of get those different benefits of it, from up regulation, down regulation, and be like, hey, wow, that one really, like, somebody might say, like, oh, after workout, hey, that really zen me out. And then that's our opportunity to say, hey, well, you know how you're only getting 6 hours of sleep a night? Try to do this before you go to bed, and maybe you're going to fall asleep faster. And then here's how you can progress it. You just add a second to that, because it's all broken up into ratios. So, just add a second to those different ratios as you improve in it. And, when you come into the gym to work out tomorrow morning, we can do this different thing that's going to help maybe wake you up a little bit more. But at the end of the day, if you're not breathing properly, it doesn't matter.
Gotcha. So how do you take someone who like comes in, like say if I walked in and you could obviously see that like my breathing mechanics were shit, what's the first thing that you're gonna do?
Usually teach them to give them some sort of feedback so they know what a good breath should feel like. And that usually means getting their spine supported, so like laying them down, right? Which isn't the best thing to do pre-training, but you gotta get them to kind of feel it, and that gets everything aligned up, right? And then we'll kind of use some cues, or if it's somebody I don't mind poking in the belly, I'll poke them right under their rib cage and kind of say, put some pressure into my hand. And I try to never say breathe through your belly, because people just stick their belly out.
Yeah.
Right, like even Taylor said that the other day. He's like, I've been thinking that I'm breathing deeply, but I'm just sticking my stomach out. And so like teaching them that's about that expansion. Alex will throw a dumbbell, like an 8-pound dumbbell, on people's stomach sometimes to get a little bit of feedback. Or we'll tie a band around.
That's my favorite.
The
one.
band is
The
really
band
good,
is my favorite
because you can because that gives you some resistance too. And so breathing into that resistance, and hey, you have to expand this band as you breathe in, has been a pretty big impact on it too, right? Because you get that feedback, and you're like, oh.
And that was the first thing they had us do. That was the first like practical
Breathe
thing they
into
had
a
us
band.
do. Well, they had us put our hands like C's right underneath our rib cage and said, expand, which is along the same lines.
Yeah.
The band just allows you to do it without touching.
That's a good cue. And what Taylor said is what a lot of people I like see on what we were talking about, Instagram, and everyone's like, do diaphragmatic breaths. And they're just like, it looks like they're just pushing their gut out. And I'm like, I don't know if you guys know how like abs work, because that's not how they do it, So it's just, I don't know, it's weird. So something that's like the external cue, and like it's breathe in, take that deep breath, and then don't think about pushing your belly out. It's just like, kind of, you have that resistance there, so you almost have to.
Yeah, breathing into the resistance makes it right, and you're a power lifter, maybe retired.
I'm retired. Who are we kidding?
But that's what you do with the belt, right?
Yeah.
Like if you can tell somebody knows what they're doing when they have their belt on a little bit loose, because you want to expand to breathe into the belt. And that belt works as that external feedback of, okay, I'm going to breathe in to expand that to create this pressure to lift this heavy weight. The other thing that helps people is nose, like breathing through their nose. One, I think your nose is going to help you access your diaphragm better.
It's a PRI thing.
But but also it just gets people to slow down and think about what they're doing instead of just taking a big gasp through their mouth. So breathing through the nose helps, and then making them do it during other times throughout their session too. Like, hey, you're going to do this 20-second air 9 sprint and then hop off to do some bodyweight squats. Before you do your bodyweight squats, take 5 breaths through your nose to try to down-regulate it a little bit before you go into your squats.
Yeah.
And so that's been helpful too, of having that breathing in the warm-up to get them to think, okay, these are what good mechanics feel like, and now here's some place that I can apply it within my workout.
Gotcha. Will you guys do stuff like within the warm up? So you said someone comes in, you're going to work on like breathing mechanics with them. You'll lie them down. Do you give like people that have been here for a while like a warm up protocol and be like, how does that make you feel? And then work it in, like kind of sprinkle it into the actual workout?
Right now in the warm up, we're just trying to get people to be aware of it. So it does, like, I don't even care what the protocol is. Like this week we just did everybody, when you came in, the first thing you did was you sat down if you could, or you laid down if that helped you feel it better. 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale. And just everybody really liked it because it was kind of like, all right, come in, I'm going to sit down. I've got this like little zen moment of transition from life to, okay, I'm going to focus on my workout now. And then that gets them, then they just go through the rest of the warm up, and then, you know, maybe they're going to do a hollow hold progression for 5 breaths instead of 15 seconds. And then if they're going to do like something we've been toying around with a lot to get people breathing through their nose, would be like, okay, we're going to put a light load on the sled and you're going to march with it for 4 minutes. But your challenge during this is to go at a pace that you can only breathe through your nose.
I like that a lot.
And that's been a really good one. And then also timing recovery. So, hey, you're going to do a 20 calorie row and then rest 2 minutes, or rest to a point where you can get 3 7-second exhales. So super, right, and the time doesn't matter, but the 7 seconds just gives them something to shoot for, to be able to and do this kind of long controlled exhale instead of just huffing and puffing and hopping back on. And then we are noticing a big correlation with that drop in the heart rate.
I think that's been the most effective implementation of it so far, just because it gives most people would rather do something rather than just sit and watch a clock anyways, right? If you like rest 2 minutes, most people are like, well, that's a long time, but they end up resting the proper amount while doing something.
And it keeps them in it, rather than being like,
right.
oh, I'm so fucking tired. They're like, oh, I need to focus on my breath. I'm going to bring it down. You have to count, so you're being mindful of that time rather than just experiencing that time in a flustered manner.
You have to stay in a better position, or you're not get right.
True, very true.
Curl over or arch your back. You're not going to get as good of a breath, and you'll feel that, right? Oh wow, it's already been 30 seconds. Oh, I'm sitting on the ground in a poor position. Oh, if I sit up a little bit more upright as I'm resting here, if I'm standing here, if I make sure that I'm turning my abs on or squeezing my butt as I'm standing, oh, I get my better breath there. And then they're like connecting the dots of all of these things of, oh, this breathing is, not only helping my posture and everything, but it's helping me recover faster within this stuff, and I can get more work done within my workout.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot.
And so at the end of the day, I think that the most important thing out of this is, and we could say the same thing about moving and positions, is you practice good positions in the gym, so you don't do anything bad outside of the gym, right? You learn how to hinge and to deadlift so you can.
I was just going to bring this up because I loved your dishwashing, I guess, analogy in this case of like when you get off the Airdyne, do those breaths, and then you see how much better you can come down and how much like more control your breath is, how much less breaths you have to take per minute. Mm-hmm. And you were saying when you're washing the dishes, your mouth breathing, and you're like, why am I so tired now? Oh, maybe I should breathe through my nose. Yeah. Do that for the rest of that time that you're doing it.
Yes. So just like moving, by practicing your breathing in the gym, in a warm-up, in a cool-down, during some conditioning, the real effect of that is, you're going to get some performance benefits out of it, but it's also going to make you more aware of it outside of the gym, because we're breathing all day, we're on computers, we're on phones, we're driving, we're in compromised positions that you can't breathe well in. And so by just being able to practice it an hour a day within your workout, you're going to start thinking about it like you're going to be driving your car along and be like, oh yeah, I could be breathing through my nose right now. And oh yeah, that lets me breathe in my diaphragm a lot better than whatever the hell I was doing before.
Yeah. And to go before we started recording with its, who said that meditation's hard but breathing is easy?
Brian McKenzie.
So it's the breathing is easy, but breathing does give you similar effects to what meditation could do. So in the driving your car around, a lot of people get pissed off. You said, I remember like 2 years ago I brought up meditation to you, and it was like, what's the biggest implication you've seen? And you're like, when I'm driving around and I can't find a parking spot, I don't freak out.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's huge, because it's just, that's such a small thing that is such a huge stressor for no reason. So when you're driving in traffic, I do the nose breathing, and I'm driving into Boston every day hating my life. But when I'm nose breathing and someone cuts me off, it's fine. But if I'm not, I'm in a hurry, I'm mouth breathing until I get into my car, I'm flustered, someone cuts me off, then I'm like, what the fuck? And just start freaking out. So there's more implications than just utilizing your diaphragm.
Oh.
There's now like mental implications.
Well, I think
as well.
that's the biggest takeaway, and that's what he was getting at with, coming and practicing it here, is that you have that carryover, right?
Yeah.
Because, another thing, me and him were talking about it yesterday, and Brian McKenzie has said it before, is, who you are when you're stressed and under load, that's who you are, right? When you're stressed and, freaking out, you're going to be breathing out of your mouth. If you're in here, under stress, tired, breathing out of your mouth. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So coming in here and trying to practice it mindfully will automatically program you to be in the car. When someone cuts you off, you'll have those tools available to you.
Now, have you guys seen good adherence to the people that you've given this to, and good feedback from people doing what we're talking about?
People are very aware right now that breathing is good for them, right? Meditation is very trendy, right? Or people are aware that by slowing yourself down and being able to focus on, right? Because that's what meditating is, hey, take this chunk of time and focus on only your breath. And so, but having this breath work piece of, okay, not only am I going to focus on my breath, but I'm going to focus on how I'm breathing, and now having these different protocols to make different physiological changes is almost this like roundabout into meditating, right? And you've experienced that with doing like Wim Hof style breathing.
Yeah.
Right? You go 3-4 rounds deep on Wim Hof, you are in another planet.
Hit it the other day. Actually,
Right?
before my, not to digress here, but I did it before my palpation practical, which is something you want to go into like a little bit elevated on. But I took my heart rate before, and it was literally sub 50. I did it for a full 50 or full 60 seconds. I was at 49, and I was like, I'm either gonna die soon, or I don't know what's happening, because I literally did it maybe 10 minutes before I went in there, and I went in too calm that I made stupid mistakes.
So
That's a good lesson for you, though.
That is a good, I was going to bring this up because now it's just, I can see that protocol didn't work for that environment, but it works very well for bringing me down.
And Alex feels the exact opposite way, right? If he does some like Wim Hof, what these art of breath guys would call super ventilating, where you're hyperventilating on purpose, so they call it super ventilation, that winds him up. Like, he'll try to do it before bed, but not be able to fall asleep afterwards.
I had like a 3-week span where I was trying to get better at Wim Hof superventilation.
Well, I talked to you during those 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure.
It's called like holotropic, I guess is the correct term for it. It's just, doing it for an expanded period of time. And I was doing it for like, I probably got, the longest I ever did was 10 minutes. But it puts you in such a bizarre state that I was just, ramped up for the next 30 minutes after. It was a terrible idea to do it before I went to bed.
Wim Hof's a weird one, though, because it's just, you do I usually do a little bit more because I follow like a YouTube video where Wim actually takes you through. He's like, inhale. So I probably end up doing 45 breaths to 50. And that amps me up.
Yeah.
But I'm lying down, and then you breathe out, hold for as long as you can, which like you can obviously hear your heart rate while you're doing that because it's freaking pumping out of your chest. And it'll be going like crazy. It's probably freaking 100 beats a minute. And then once I get 30 seconds and I like start to exhale a little bit more, then it just plummets. And that's when I hit that zen. And then I can hold my breath. I started doing it 2 weeks ago because I was just freaking out. And that's what hits me into the zen state. So if I were to just do the super ventilation and maybe hold for the 30 seconds, that would give me a different outcome.
So
Right.
That's exactly what they do. So if you want to get ramped up, their whole thing is like, yeah, take your 30 breaths like that, but then only hold your exhale for 30 seconds instead of pushing it as long as you can, where you're going to get that like parasympathetic, well, I just want to lay here, super chilled out response.
Yeah.
And so I'm the same way. If I do some long exhale holds, puts me out. If I do some long inhale holds, that like a classic like apnea thing where maybe it's 5 seconds in, 20-second hold, 10 seconds out. That is designated as like something to down regulate you. But for me, that gets me going. So like that's what I use in the morning. Is I'll do maybe 5 to 10 rounds of 5-second inhale, 20-second hold, 10-second exhale. And for some people that might be a good post-training wind down thing, or sometimes I like doing the long exhale hold thing post-training to like wind down from training, but also feel really like, oh yeah, I feel really good. That was a good workout. And I'll push the exhales because since it's post-training, I'm not able to hold it as long. So it limits it just because everything's leveled up from training.
Yeah.
So really, what's nice about these things is there's no set in stone way to do it. And that's what Alex and I have been doing is like, okay, what works? What can we, right? Because we're the extremists. We're going to tinker and play and experiment with all of these things and try to do some crazy stuff with it. But what we want to do...
So then you can give the titrated version to your clients. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
They don't want the extreme. They're not obsessed with this stuff, right? We're obsessed with performance and getting better and challenging ourselves. And so we can, that's a great word for it, is titrate it down and say, okay, here are the things that's going to benefit you. And so at the end of the day, for them right now, I don't think the protocol matters. I think what matters is that they're thinking about breathing and becoming more aware of how they're breathing. And then you can start adding on different layers to that of like, oh, well, hey, if you add a little exhale pause after that, might be a good thing for you to do in the morning. Or add a little inhale pause, might be a good thing for you to do pre-training. And so what we're trying to do with everybody now is just have this conversation to make them aware of it and make them realize how important it is. Because it's something that Brian McKenzie says at the seminar Alex went to and also that I went to is breathing is an unlimited resource. Everybody has it at all times.
Mm-hmm. It's our number one fuel source.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just completely goes out with a wash. We're just everyone can breathe.
Well, like it's the number one least mindful thing that we do during our day.
Yeah.
For the grand majority of us. But what you just said is perfect because you got to remember that these people, in terms of thinking about this stuff, are 3 years behind, at least me, and they're, I don't know how many years behind you thinking about this type of stuff for you. So it's just you have to kind of like sprinkle it in, get them used to it, get them thinking about it, and then I like it's like, hey, maybe just do this one little thing. So you like work in the protocol very slowly until maybe in like 3 to 6 months, they're actually like hitting it and they now know what works for them.
Which is exactly what we do with strength training.
Yeah, yes.
Right, like somebody comes in here and they're like, yeah, I just want to lose 10 pounds. And I'm like, oh, well, we're going to make you a really good mover, too. You don't know it yet, but you will.
Yeah.
Right, and then 6 months down the line, they're like, holy shit, I just deadlifted 225.
You're like, fuck yeah, you did. It's awesome.
Right, and it's just that little bit to buy in because it's this weird thing that it's a strange thing to do. But, like, we had everybody this week just come in, like, sitting in their formal breathing, crisscross posture, hands on their knees, like...
Yeah, we had little to no...
Let's do it. Crisscross applesauce back in kindergarten class.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this.
But, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, we had less pushback on that than we did with, like, if we put, like, bear crawl in the warm-up, people are like, are you kidding me?
Dude, everyone hates bear crawl.
I know, but, like, that was cool. Most
Yeah.
people were like, oh, okay, that's all I have to do? Sweet, I'll sit down here and breathe for a while.
No, that's awesome.
And I think that's because it is something that people are just becoming more aware of, and that people know that it's good for them now, right? Everything is go all the time. It's like, take a second.
Yeah, bring it back down.
Yeah, like I love when people do like Instagram stories like that, and they're just like, hey, take these next 15 seconds and chill out for a second. You're like, wow, I really appreciate that. I probably shouldn't be on my phone anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing too, and especially, I mean, around here it's a lot different than where I'm at, but in Boston, everything is just like, there's
stress
30,000
everywhere.
kids that go to
Stress
Northeastern,
everywhere.
they're walking around everywhere. I'm just like constantly, there's not a time for me to like go be by myself in the trees anymore. But it's just that it's super important, but I can give myself the same effect as going for a walk in the woods as just controlling that breath and doing whatever works for me. So like in my case, the like long exhale hold is what really gets me to kind of calm down. So what's the like future for this in terms of implementing it into your guys' training for your clients? Is it just kind of like keep working it in little by little?
I think it's just like, you know, like it is with everything. I think it's doing our best to educate them as effectively as possible, you know, and that means one, educating ourselves about it, which we're trying to do, but also, you know, finding good strategic ways to implement that into their workout. And I mean, like he said, we've been trying to do this since 2015. We've had breathing in the warm-up before, but it's never been something that we could push enough to get any traction. And I think that we're finally doing that because we're better in practice and we're more educated about it. I think that's been the difference.
Yeah, now that we've been toying around with all of these different protocols for a few years, we can kind of be like, okay, this is super important. It ties into this strength and conditioning practice really well. And so just making sure that it's, you know, teaching people, and this is something that we do anyway, but now tying the breath into it is even better, is like, how should you breathe when you bench press? How do you breathe when you deadlift? How do you create pressure to stabilize your spine before you deadlift? And if you just have this practice of breathing, of taking these like very intentional breaths in the warm-up, in between sets, while you're doing medicine ball throws, it's going to have that carryover into improving everything else.
That's something I didn't even like think of bringing up, because that's a very good point. Because I remember trying, bench press is probably the hardest one for whatever reason on teaching someone, because I remember when you started implementing actual like barbell bench press, and I think I was an intern, and it was just, you're gonna inhale and then exhale coming up, and people just couldn't get that, and they'd be like and exhaling on the way down, they're like, shit, this is so heavy. But you're now giving them like a really good base to now be like, you know what feels good, you know what makes you more tense, you know what makes you more relaxed, you know what position should feel like, and they can apply it almost themselves without you giving them any cue. Or if you do give them a cue, it'll be adherence first time rather than adherence third week type of thing. No, I like it a lot. And I remember the first permutation of you applying breathing in, because it was with Therese, when you gave her rope slams. It was like, I think it was like 20 rope slams, then 20 breaths off for like 3 rounds. And she would just, she's like, this is a life changer, because she would take that time, like what you guys said earlier, just kind of being, and just really out of breath, coming back to mindfulness, and now progressing that even more and being like, you know what calms you down now. Apply that to yourself.
And you know, the biggest thing is, so we do this intro class. And so I was coaching this intro class last night, and their finisher last night, and these are people that are not in shape, they've never done any lifting before, so they're like total beginners. So I gave them a very challenging for them finisher last night, which was do 50 medicine ball slams. And what I said to them was that I am going to be more impressed with the people in that group that could finish it and then immediately talk to me afterwards, and if that took them longer, opposed to the person that's going to do 50 in a row and have to lay on the floor. And the difference is being able to breathe
Yeah.
and slow yourself down and pace yourself. And so these people ended up doing, without me even telling them, they're like, all right, I'm going to do 15 slams and take 5 breaths. I'm going to do 15 more slams and do 5 breaths. I'm going to do 10 more, and then I'm going to do 10. And so then afterwards, I was like, how was that? And they're like, that was pretty easy. I'm like, good. It's not easy, but you made it easy because you figured out how to pace yourself instead of just go really, really hard, really, really fast, which is what most of fitness is about.
Yeah.
Just go, huff and puff your way through it, and then lay on the floor. And so these people were able to, without me even cueing breathing at all, I just cued them to pace themselves. And that got them kind of clued in, like, oh, if I breathe during this better, I can sustain this work better, which is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Would you agree, though, that there's, like, good and bad to the, like, go?
Well, I think you need to be able to go.
Yeah.
But I think if that's all you can do, like there's so many people that come in here and that they tell me that they're really in shape or that they have a lot of cardio because they do something, right? But then you're like, all right, ride for 5 minutes on the Airdyne bike. And they can't do it, right? Or, hey, okay, you have really good cardio, row a 2K instead of a 500-meter sprint.
Yeah.
And that's a totally different ballgame, and most people can't do it because they have this one speed, which is, pedal to the metal, and they don't understand how to operate with it at 75% instead. And neither did I until I started running.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, oh, I thought I was in shape, but I'm not because I can't do anything for a sustained period of time. I can race through stuff and suffer and finish, but not sustain a pace through it.
Yeah. I only asked because, like, with the workouts that I was doing were the go kettlebell workouts. And when I tried to carry it out, granted I was running at the time, but I wasn't running, like, a tremendous amount from, like, September to November time frame, or, like, December, I guess. And when I tried to do the long or prolonged exercise thing, I was like, why do I suck at this? I was like, I'm doing all this stuff. But when I got to school and I started doing more prolonged stuff, I got better at it faster than I think I probably would have if I hadn't done all that type of stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So it's like it wasn't helping me in terms of the prolonged endurance exercise, but it gave me like a good base to now implement that type of stuff. But I like this type of stuff a lot. I like the breathing work. I think that these guys do a really good job at that, which is why I wanted to learn a little bit more. Because you're right, with PRI and like places like DNS, it's weird to tell people and cue them in such specific ways.
Yeah, it's like so hard to coach.
Yeah, whereas just breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it. Breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it. Is mindless. Like you could just, it's so easy to tell people and cue them through.
Yeah, and it is. It's we've been trying to figure out what the way to implement it is, knowing that's important, and this is the way to implement it because unlike something like PRI, like we've said a few times, this is the way that you can always do it. You can do it while you're training, you can do it while you're running, you can do it while you're driving, you can do it while you're doing the dishes, you can do it to warm up. And it's all the same, right? It's breathe, try to breathe through your nose, use good mechanics, meaning use your diaphragm. If you want to use your diaphragm, you better be in a good position or have good posture. And that applies for rowing, riding an Airdyne, sitting in your car, at your desk.
Everything.
Deadlifting, right? And so the breathing has a huge impact of that. And even me, like, I think I'm pretty good at breathing because I've been doing it for a long time now and testing out these different protocols. But the more I get into it, I'm like, wow, like I can create so much more pressure now, like on doing something like really, like doing a snatch. Like the other day, I tested out some heavy stuff, which I haven't touched in a long time. And I just like felt like I was able to brace so much more, which gave me so much more speed and then able to catch still in a good position. And I'm like, that's from me breathing.
That did look so good the other day. I watched that super slow-mo. all those slow-mo apps make it look like an old scary movie.
Well,
So
that's
weird.
it's the bad lighting, I think.
Oh, okay.
in
But
here.
anyway, like those looked great. Like you've been doing snatches and stuff for a while, but those looked awesome.
That
It
was
looked
a
quick.
10-pound PR that was 18 months old.
Damn.
And I've only touched that weight twice since that. That was just unheard of.
Damn.
I
It's
didn't
all
know
about the
that
breathing.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna credit it all to breathing.
Do they talk about like epigenetic factors at all? No, because I asked the PRI instructor, and I like went up to her because it's just, I mean, the neurological effect after you exercise, and you like with the extracellular matrix and the neurons coming in and like GLUT4 and whatever else. Like, how does that get affected by your breathing? Because you're now taking the stimulus that is heavy heart rate, higher blood pressure, more blood flow, and you're kind of lessening it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're now extracting metabolites a lot more efficiently. Is that good or bad for performance? Do they talk about that at all? Or do you know anything about that
I think
at all?
what they would say is that the sooner you can put your right, because we're up here all the time, stress, work, school, go, take a bunch of caffeine, train, and then back to work. So they would say, hey, using some sort of breath protocol to down-regulate yourself after training would be huge, just because you're never turning off.
Yeah.
And they talk about, they use dogs as an example, or animals in general, right? Play, run, go, sleep. Right, they have that. I'm parasympathetic now, I'm going to sleep. Right? Like Clem, right now.
Yeah.
And as soon as I say, hey, let's go do something, she's, boom, let's go. And then we'll get home and she'll sleep. And so they have this ability to turn on, turn off. And so one of the kind of bigger underlying things, and we didn't talk about this in the podcast, was like that changing of your state of, okay, even if you are ramped up all the time, here's a way to switch down. Stimulate parasympathetic response, chill out, relax post-training, and the sooner you get that, that's where you're recovering, right? You're not doing all of that recovery stuff while you're in this like sympathetic dominant go state. And so putting yourself in more of a parasympathetic dominant state can help kickstart some recovery.
Okay. All right. I like that answer. That's a way better answer than what I received. Because I've been thinking about that a lot more in terms of like cold showers and stuff post workout. Or I've been using the sauna a lot. And I've been cranking up the heat in the sauna, which pisses a lot of people off. But because usually they like it at like 160, but they leave the water in there, so I just pour the bucket on it, and I cranked it up. The hottest I got was like 195, and I just like went in there for like, I think 6.5 minutes, and I was just like, oh, and you feel great, and then you go take a cold shower right after. But I asked the PRI woman because I was just like, there's a lot of epigenetic factors that kind of occur because of exercise. What is good or bad about doing PRI after? And a PRI essentially does the same thing that you guys are talking about here, just they use a different axe, cut down the same tree. But that's a good answer. I like that a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah, just like PRI, I think that the heart of it is mechanics.
That's the whole thing.
Right.
The whole thing.
But
Yeah.
the same thing, right? Doing all of this stuff doesn't matter if you're chest breathing.
Yeah.
You've got to figure it out. And
Improper chest breathing.
improper chest breathing.
So there's good chest breathing as well.
Using your secondary breathing muscles as your primary breathing
Yeah,
muscles.
you don't need any serratus posteriors
But, I mean-
and that shit.
I think it's better, like, we haven't even talked about, the mechanics with the majority of the people that have been doing that yet. Just because we're trying to just get it out there,
Yeah, but the 80% of the mechanics comes from what you guys are telling them, which is expand 360.
Right.
So when you do that, I mean, you're eliciting the proper muscles to fire, which proper muscle being diaphragm.
And then
not
if you try and run
back
through that,
everything.
even just that one, 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, like after a few breaths, you're going to figure out it feels way better if I breathe properly. And they might not even know that means that's proper breathing and that they're breathing incorrectly.
That's the craziest thing. Is like every once in a while I'll start slipping, and I like won't do any practice for like a week or two, and then I go to do a practice and I'm like, wow, I feel like a shriveled grape right now. You know.
And, like,
whereas if you're practice, you're just like,
Yeah,
you're
your
like,
breasts
wow,
are so
huge,
robust.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, like using it as a, like almost using it as like something like HRV.
I was just
Am I
gonna
ready to
bring that
train
up.
today? Well, is my baseline breathing up to par or not? And like you can have a certain protocol that you run through. Those guys actually do your CO2 tolerance test, and if your CO2 tolerance is lower than your baseline, like maybe you should take the day off. For me, if I'm jumping rope while I'm warming up, and I can like rip some double unders breathing through my nose, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good today. Like today, after doing 2 max out days this week, I could not do double unders and breathe through my nose. And so I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't lift anything today.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's also why I tried warming up for 2 hours and couldn't train.
Now, did they talk about HRV in these things? Because can they like
They
when
can
you- when you-
they can manipulate HRV responses through the breathing protocols.
because the
I don't know
big
if they talked
thing
about that in the
is
seminar, but I've heard them say that on a podcast.
okay. I'll have to go and look through because I haven't looked into it too much. But when you wake up and your HRV is low, then it's like that's a day off day.
I actually heard Kelly Starrett talk about Brian McKenzie coached him for the 6-hour paddling race, and they were tracking HRV, and like it was like the second day in a row Kelly tested low, and so he said like he called up Brian, was like, hey, I'm supposed to do this big long effort today, I'm gonna take the day off, HRV, and Brian walked him through a breath protocol, retested it, HRV went up, and then Kelly was like, am I supposed to train? Am I not supposed to train? The HRV says I am. And that's what Brian McKenzie wrote a book on last year, was this thing called Unplugged, whereas you can do different things to manipulate these. You're right, we've got all of this technology that tells us what we should do and shouldn't do. At the end of the day, how you feel is what you should tell it. So
Yeah.
so they found that certain things can manipulate your HRV.
That's awesome. I love that.
Right?
Yeah, because there's a correlation between low HRV and consistent training and injury. Like you're not supposed to train on a low HRV day. And if you do, then you're going to get injured. So if you can manipulate it to be a high HRV day, then go lift all you want type of thing. That's awesome. I fucking love that. That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys again. Justin, Alex, that was awesome.
Thanks, Nate.
Before I let you guys go, remember to go check out the Brcye Is Right Sportscast, hosted by Brcye Dawson. If you guys want to get your weekly / whenever the fuck he feels like posting it, sports information. And also, again, thank you to the 2 people that I had on today, Justin and Alex. You can go find both of them on Instagram. Justin is at Justin_Miner, spelled Miner, all lowercase, and Alex is at AH_strength. Again, all lowercase. Go give them a follow. They're always doing crazy shit. And if you guys didn't listen to my episode with Justin, which was episode 1, please go check it out. But if you don't, Justin and I are both directly smack dab in the middle of our training for our race, which is coming on June 9th. Justin is doing a 50-miler. I'm doing a 50K. And we are both fucked. No, I'm just kidding. We're both doing very, very well. Justin definitely maybe a little bit better than me. We're both excited. We're both a little bit scared. This is definitely the longest race I've ever done because I've never done a race before. And Justin is upping the ante, going for the 50 milers rather than the 50K. So go give both of us a follow. Wish us both luck. We're definitely going to need it. And thank you all for listening. Till next week.